Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order our regular town board meeting for tonight, March 23rd. Would you please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to make a motion to approve our prior minutes of, I'm going to do them all together in a bundle. January 8th, 2005, our regular town board meeting. February 9th, 2005, regular town board meeting. February 10th, our special town board meeting. February 19th, our special town board meeting. And February 23rd, our regular town board meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I'm just going to abstain from four where I wasn't here. I'm going to vote on the first one.
I bundled them all together. I'm sorry.
Okay, so
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and abstain. Okay, so moved, thank you. I have a couple of announcements, and then I'm sorry for bundling, Lorraine. And then if anybody has any else, that would be great. First of all, we're still looking for a planning board member to fill out a 7-year, a whole term. We are looking for a Board of Assessment Review member, which is a great way to serve. You sit on the Board of Assessment Review for Grievance Day, and that is on May 26th. Training is on April 28th. So if anybody would like to serve, please let us know.
I'll buy you donuts if you take the job.
Town Hall will be
What kind
closed.
of donut? Whatever you want.
I don't think you can do it, Joe. Which means no donuts for you. Town Hall will be closed on Friday, April 3rd, not for Good Friday, but I think most people are electing to take their floating holiday then, so Town Hall is closed. Saturday, the 28th of March at 10 a.m. is the spring egg hunt, the rec park. The rec director puts this on. So spring egg hunt at Thompson-Mazzarella Park with Hoppy the Bunny at 10 a.m. The assessors will be having open book on May 11th, 12th, 14th, and 16th. The hours will be on our website, or you can call the assessors at 876-4805. Also, and we'll come back to this, I think, under new business, the county DPW, Department of Public Works, has been speaking with the Highway Department for several months about reshaping the intersection at Mount Ruxton and River Road. They notified the town that they wanted to cut down 5 trees to turn it from a triangle into a T. Our zoning enforcement officer, our Highway Department, and our town attorney believes that the town board has no jurisdiction over this. This is a county road and county property. We did refer it to our planning board, and it was referred to our Conservation Advisory Board for a consistency review for our LWRP, Local Waterfront Revitalization Plan. I think we need to come to this to new business, and we'll read a letter. I don't think we're approving this. I don't know that we can approve it, but the county wants to change this road, so we can talk about that further. Does anybody have any other announcements?
dog kennel. There's very little left to be done. The dog kennel is pretty much done, enough so that we can now send dogs back there. So Roger knows, and it looks good. I haven't been inside yet, but the outside looks really good. And Robbie's just about finished with it.
Great.
So Roger will notify the
Yes.
animal hospital?
Probably already has.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We have a presentation, let me see, is there anything else? From the waterfront, on the waterfront plan. Is anyone here making that?
I thought Patricia would be here.
Okay, you want to just, we'll come back to it if she comes?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
If not, okay, moving on. Any committee and liaison reports?
Well, the Workforce / Affordable Housing Committee has been talked to one developer of such a project. We're scheduled to speak with another developer of such a project at our Thursday's meeting. So we're pushing that ahead.
static?
It's something in the line that, when I came in earlier, wasn't like the,
Okay. Okay.
One other thing, I have been working, we formed a ad hoc historic preservation committee, and I've worked with the committee. They have prepared a draft, and we're up to the point where it should be reviewed by Warren. So I'd like to send it to Warren for his input. He hasn't seen it, but I can't imagine it's going to take a huge amount of time. People have worked hard, so I think we should have it reviewed, and depending on what he says, we could present it to the entire board for review. It's basically a committee will propose designation of certain landmarks in the town. We'll have a public hearing, we'll hear from people whose property is proposed to be designated, and then we'll make a designation. We would enter this into the town's land records, and we now have this new system that we can designate particular parcels. And then if one of these parcels is applying for a permit, the planning board or the zoning board of appeals, or if it's just the building department or the enforcement officer, would notice that this is a designated plan. The owner of the property would speak to this committee. The committee would may make recommendations, and then it would be up to the owner as to whether or not they want to follow those recommendations. That's basically the structure, but we'll have an opportunity to examine it and have a public hearing on the proposed law.
Thank you. Anybody else?
just give you an activity report. At the mayor's request, I spoke to him a couple times about different subjects, the hydrants and working together and things like that. I went to the budget meeting, but then went over the fire and reviewed that. I've given everybody copies of
Got
what I
that
got.
today. Yep. How does the fire budget look?
Looks good. It's, they trimmed it nicely, I think. Seemed very reasonable. I went to the fire commissioner training on Saturday. I don't know why I'm American for training now, but I am, so.
Do you need more training?
I always need more training. I'm constantly forgetting what I learned. And I got a really good deal on a sewer cover for Vandenberg Cove. I have to go pick it up. We've agreed I can take my truck to do it, so I'll get it with my truck and save a little more money. And that should be fixed up. We have the DEC repairs, scheduled repairs for March. That's the one for March, basically.
And then we're done with what, the checklist?
No, we're done with March. We still have to rebuild all
Oh,
of
the July, the June and July?
Yeah, the chimneys on a lot of the manholes. That's gonna be expensive.
I wonder if we will have turned it over to water and wastewater by then? No? No? All right,
I
thank
doubt
you.
it.
As the head of emergency services, I've been working with the county as we put together hired a consultant and put together a program for hazard mitigation for FEMA, for FEMA projects, mostly floodplain. So I've been working with our highway superintendent, our zoning enforcement officer, our code enforcement officer, police and emergency services to answer the booklet of questions, turn it over to the consultant. It's a great thing that the county's done. All the towns are participating, and it basically leaves us ready to apply for any FEMA flood grants. Not that there's been a lot of good news about what's going on with FEMA lately, but it gives us a cohesive plan for flood hazard mitigation. So that is a project that we've been spending a lot of time on the past couple of weeks, and it should be turned into the county in another 2 weeks. Also, There are some seminars and webinars coming up. Joe is going to cover me while I'm on vacation, where the county is going to be helping the towns and villages submit all the paperwork we need to adhere to our state mandated, if we buy into it, tax freeze, the 2%, now 1.5%. We have to bring in our budgets, which we've been doing consistently here at the tax cap, and then we have to come up with a plan for saving additional monies each year for the next 3 years in order for our residents to get a check back. So each taxing municipality has to do that. We're adhering to it here. So you have town, if you're a village resident, village. There's also school taxes and county, if the county does it. But the county is going to help us file our paperwork on time, so we've been working on that. Anything else? Okay, resolutions. I would like to make a motion for resolution 2015-090 for our preliminary abstracts vouchers 292 through 363, 45 checks totaling $113,467.65. May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. I will make a motion for resolution 2015-091 for budget transfers and amendments. May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. I will make resolution 2015-092, our town hall furnace project request for proposals. May I have a motion?
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
Joe, you want to take us through this?
Right, as we've talked about for almost a year now, the furnace in the town hall has to be replaced. And we engaged Weston and Sampson to draw plans. We entered into a contract, and they have drawn plans for the taking out of the furnace and putting registers on the various radiators so we can control the heat radiator by radiator. In addition, Weston and Sampson has said that we should try to handle the asbestos removal. And there is asbestos that has to be removed from the furnace room before the project can go on. And they said that we should do that outside the heating contract. They thought that would save us some money. So I've drafted a request for proposal. And the asbestos project we envision would be in 2 stages. First, we would engage a company to draft a plan, which has to go and be approved by state authorities. And that same company would also monitor during the project the air samples, both inside and outside the furnace room. And they would be our representative on the whole project. Once we have the plan, then we would go out with an RFP with the plan to get bids from removal companies. You have a tentative schedule of when the work will begin, and basically in the month of April, we'll award a contract for drafting the plan, for maintaining the project, supervising the project, and for air sampling. And hopefully we'll have a contract signed. I tentatively put down April 27th to have that contract signed. once we get the plan, which will be hopefully the first week in May, we'll send out an RFP for the asbestos removal company, and hopefully the abatement won't take more than about a week, and that would occur in the first half of June, starting on June 8th, and we'll be finished with grievance day and peak period for the tax assessors. I'm supposed to meet on Friday
Joe, I'm
with,
sorry, how long will the abatement take?
we were told about a week. Again, this doesn't come from a contractor or an abatement company, but a citizen who's been very helpful and is knowledgeable about the process. We estimated a week, but we'll see once the bids come in. I was supposed to meet with Weston and Sampson on Friday to get their schedule. We have their draft. It's a huge contract draft with engineering drawings, and I would assume that they would send out their contract probably the end of April, and hopefully the work can start by the second half of June, and hopefully will be done by October 1st, when the heating season may begin.
Do we have, I know we haven't sent out the RFP yet, employees have voiced concerns about working in the building while it's going on. We'll see what is said, but,
Right, we'll have to be advised by the companies that we hire. You know, that the contractors are supposed to take air samples 3 times a day, both in the furnace room and outside the furnace room. I guess the employee doesn't want to work down there, maybe they can find a little space in town hall.
okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved. I'll make a motion for Resolution 2015-094, requesting a 30-day extension for filing the 2014 AUD with the Office of the State Controller. May I have a second?
Second.
You skipped number 4.
I'll come back to it. May I have a second?
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Resolution number 4. 2015-093 for FEAT Rhinebeck Hudson Valley Full and Half Marathon. I'll make a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Kyle Irwin was before us. I didn't recognize him. I think last summer telling us about this. I don't know that we need board action. Kyle is working directly with the highway department and the police. She will be,
We met today, actually.
can you, if you want to come up, you can come up and speak in the microphone, introduce yourself. I think we said we were supportive of the project when she came to us last year, but also said that we weren't participating in it. And
Yeah, there was no hi everyone. There was no participation.
I'm sorry, would you introduce yourself?
Sure, my name is Kyle Irwin. I'm the founder and race director of FEAT for Exploration, Adventure, and Travel. And we are the producers and organizers of the proposed and the full and half marathon here May 16th this year, which is a Saturday. The full marathon begins at 8 a.m. and the half marathon begins at 8:30 a.m. Some updates. I met back in July, so after our meeting, I met with Sergeant John, who we had already been meeting, but Sergeant John and Kathy was there, Mike Damp was there, the New York State Police, Emergency Services was there, and they all approved the course. We went over it, they approved it so that I could mark it and put it up on the website. Mike and Sergeant Dunn and I met today again, and we actually went through the course today to map out where exactly sheriff or New York State Police or the Rhinebeck PD would be needed along the course at different intersections, how many people. So we did all that planning today. And then next Tuesday, the whole group will get together again, Kathy and I think even Andy and Karate is invited from the fairgrounds as well. Large group just to go over the final, okay, so this is what we all planned out and just make sure we're all set. And we're still, you know, over a month out, but we want to make sure all the pieces are set. I know some of the small concerns, not small, but concerns that everybody had, so I might as well mention them. The porta potties will be removed right at the end of the race, so they won't be out there. They'll be dropped off in the morning, removed at race day, just like the race that happens here in the fall. They're every 2 miles. And we've gone
And you've
over
arranged for that, the getting them and removing?
The town, the village, as well as the fairgrounds are all covered as additional insured under Roadrunner. That's a separate policy from the normal general liability policy my company carries. That's specific to the event. There's been a contract signed with the fairgrounds for the Andy and Karate, so we're all set there. Everything's looking good. What else? Oh, we have a lot of local involvement from the high school, as well as I've met with both PE teachers at the high school and in Red Hook. So a lot of the times students need community service hours or maybe want to try to do something for a fundraiser. So from Rhinebeck, there's a group that wanted to have an aid station and do some donations for the fire that happened in Red Hook, where a bunch of the goats died and stuff like that. So I said, absolutely, we're going to have something up for any aid stations that want to generate donations. We'll take care of all the administrative tasks as far as hosting them, and then on race day for whatever students. Also some other runs, such as the Rogers Run. Have we mentioned they might have another aid station? So we're trying to do some really positive philanthropic efforts for even our aid stations. So yeah, I'm happy to answer specific questions, but we're looking good and pretty excited.
That's great.
Just a couple of questions. And I'm looking at the resolution. I don't know
Oh, absolutely.
if you had drafted this or not. But you're going to arrange and pay for the aid stations,
Yes.
and same thing with the police. You're going to pay for the overtime.
Yes, so that's already all been addressed. I think we covered this also the first time we met. But it's a service, the police are providing a service. We will be paying for the police. We even went over hourly wage, how many people, I mean, everything's been worked out down to the top approximate number, so.
Now, are you also agreeing to indemnify the town if somehow we get sued?
So that's why we're carrying as an additional insured on the insurance policy.
Yeah, but I think we ought to, don't you normally give an indemnity agreement also?
I don't know what would be normally done with the town, you have to tell me specifically.
Yeah, well, what we do, say somebody uses the town hall, our form provides that the use of the town hall indemnifies us if there's any loss or damage resulting from the use. And I guess I would like to see just a paragraph indemnity from your organization.
To the
To the town.
towns,
Yeah.
the roads that pertain to the town.
Yeah, as a result of running the marathon, if the town gets sued, we have an indemnity. I think we talked about this the first time.
But we could, you'll have to, that hasn't been discussed, it would put the town as an additional insured on the insurance policy, which I believe covers such a situation.
Do we have any, Joe, do we have any indemnification from Mad Dash?
That's what I'm talking about, isn't that your order?
No.
This is a different thing, yeah, probably.
They've never come before us.
Yeah.
Well,
They've
we
never
don't have
given
to
us
commit it.
anything,
What?
we've never given them permission.
Okay, yes.
We have nothing to do with it. I don't even think they have provided us with an insurance certificate.
Well, Foley did it the first year they did it, but after that, we haven't heard anything.
Maybe they should.
Running away or whatever.
I think that's their company. I mean, we have a signed contract at the venue, that's the fairgrounds. Since there's no actual precedent, it's never been done again, I guess I'm caught off guard.
I don't,
Okay.
Why don't we prepare and tender to you a short indemnity agreement? You can.
is that something the
Our-
town board wants to do?
I'm
Do we-
sorry, yeah.
Do we, is this something that, we have a resolution here basically saying that we realize Kyle is doing this. We've expressed approval in principle of the project, subject to certain issues being addressed, which they are that she's contacted the village police and emergency services. They've approved the race course. The race sponsor will pay for all the police services, supply aid states, porta potties, there's parking, it's handled at the fairgrounds, and we have no further questions or concerns. Basically, our resolution is saying we have no objection to the event proceeding. Is getting involved and asking for indemnification something you'd like to do? I put that
Joe,
to.
can you explain what that would do that being the additional insured would not do? What would be the reason for something additional like that?
Yeah, I don't think we have a direct right of action, maybe for the insurance company, but the question is, we can go against the insurance company, but is there a contractual obligation that the insurance company ought to be paying us for? And if there's no contract with the runner of the event, the insurance company could say, hey, they never agreed to do anything to indemnify you, so therefore you have no right under the insurance
You're
policy.
saying that it would possibly affect the subrogation of the insurance company paying for something?
It could.
So it's additional protection for the town, just to cover. So
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with that.
So if that's going to be the case, and this is something brand new that then is ad hoc being applied to my event, that was never discussed previously, has never been applied to anyone else, I would think that there would be some type of process that the town
Policy.
board policy would need to go through to set up that policy in your bylaws, to set that as now we're doing that. And I would have, you're asking, I'm not a lawyer, so I would also then have to bring in a lawyer, consult a lawyer, know what is the difference between what you're talking about, what is the reasoning, everything, when I came to you guys and you set out, please go handle, please include in your planning, the races on May 16th, I have done.
Hold on, Kyle. Bruce, what is your feeling about indemnification?
I understand Joe's point, it's an extra piece, however, we're not consistent with it, so I don't think we need it.
I don't either. I think we're, by saying that we have no objection, there's sort of I think additionally insured is fine. I agree, the problem here is we don't have a policy, and this speaks to filming and, events on public right-of-way, and it would be helpful if we had that.
But let me just go back for a second. We have a waiver with anything that we run. We include a waiver.
But we're not running
We're
this.
not involved in this.
When you say a waiver, what is that?
They sign
A
a
legal
waiver saying they
document?
hold us, they don't hold us responsible for anything. When the rec programs and everything else, they sign waivers.
Waiver that they won't sue us for anything?
Well,
What
Yeah, they
does the
don't hold us
waiver do?
responsible.
When you get sued, we get sued, we get served all the time. We were served last week for someone who tripped on a village sidewalk. I called the insurance company. The insurance company said, this is a village issue, thank you very much. Someone tripped on a town street. We refer it to our insurance company. they deal with it. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I don't think that we do have a policy in place. We could, Kyle's doing this in May. If you're saying, you know, would filling out we're not sponsoring this, we're not even approving it.
And that, long time ago, and I don't know whether it's true or not, or correct, but we were told if we're not sponsoring it, we ask for a waiver, then we are involved. And if we say we're not involved, then we don't ask for a waiver. I don't know, it's, you know, 6, 1, half dozen the other.
I mean, I'm more
We
than
have an
happy
open motion on the floor, so I
with
think
some
we've just,
policy that comes up in the next year and then it becomes part of the
Kyle,
fence
we
code.
have an open motion on the floor, which is to approve this. If someone wants to make a motion to amend this, to ask for, what are we calling that thing? Indemnification, this is the time to do it.
What I meant to say as part of this, that the town will examine whether we should get a formal indemnification and put that in our procedures, not for this event, but for subsequent events.
Why do we not hang it on this resolution? Why don't we just go ahead and do that and look at at a event policy?
Yeah, I would though take out the whereas that says the board has no further questions or concerns concerning the proposed event. I do have a concern going forward without indemnification. But
Somebody like to make a motion to amend the resolution on the floor?
I would amend the resolution on the floor to take out that whereas.
Is there a second to amend the resolution on the floor?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Against? Bruce?
I'll go now.
Okay, the resolution, the amendment does not pass. Now we have a resolution on the floor. Any more discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Elaine?
No?
No, I actually think Joe has a valid point. I don't think there's anything wrong with protecting the town and asking some questions. I don't think it's stopping anything, so I'm gonna say no.
The resolution doesn't pass, but you don't need our approval. The resolution is stated that we have, this is not an approval.
Okay. I just want to say this was very, very interesting as far as, I'm from this town. This is a very positive event. You do large events for Sinterklaas. When Sinterklaas asked to give an indemnification, this is
No, Sinterklaas has never been asked.
I have 60 people signed up. Sinterklaas was 5,000. And this is the way, I just want to go on record. I'm being treated for a very healthy, positive event.
Kyle? Sorry. I agree. I thank you for doing this. I'll acknowledge that there is no policy in place and that this seems somewhat arbitrary. I don't think you need our approval for this, and you're dealing directly with the police. It's on public right of way. It shouldn't, anybody else want to address?
Yeah, we should get advice in the future. That's
I
all we're
agree with
saying.
that.
We're not saying you can't have the event.
Yeah, but you
It's
did
not
turn,
personal.
you did turn down a resolution from a local person here who we supported when she came before us in the summer. I'm just pointing this
When
out because
asked in an interview, like Time Warner News, on an interview, how is the support from your local town and village? And I said, it's great. That was a lie, because from this board, it is not. And
I
that's
don't
a
think
shame.
that's fair to say, though. I think we are supportive of it, but I think that Mr. Gelb is a very fair question. It's just a question of finding out if we ought to have the extra protection. There, you know, it's not about stopping it or not supporting it.
Can you, just, if we can shout from the floor, if you'd like to come up and introduce yourself?
Sure.
Please, come on up.
Enrique Garrido. I live on 2 Highly Road. I've been a paying taxpayer for 26 years on Highly Road. I don't agree with Joe. He's not a lawyer, I don't believe.
He is a lawyer, actually.
Does he have jurisdiction in terms of law? Because I don't think there's anything that says indemnification, global indemnification doesn't exist. Anybody can sue you. That's a given. So you can't ask a party that's sponsoring an event to indemnify the town. The town is by definition responsible for anything that happens in the town, right? I don't care what Joe says. If he gets sued, if the town gets sued, you get sued.
That's why we have insurance.
Right, exactly. So the fact that he's bringing this up is mute, because you're going to get sued if there is somebody who's going to be sued. It's not fair for you to do it in the 11th hour to put a restriction on her event. By the way, we had BMW motorcycle event here, worldwide event here. That was never done, and they used the town hall, and they used the high school for showers, and they used the fairgrounds. Not one thing was ever raised about indemnification about that event. And I know because I was on the organizing committee. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Gell, when I first presented this, you said in front of everyone, what good is a marathon? What do we get out of it? You have been negative and against it since the beginning.
Okay, you know what, try and not keep it, let's not be
I'm
personal here.
It seems very personal, and it seems very, this wasn't brought up when I first
I
came.
know.
I've listed as an additional insured, I've done everything. You said, please come tonight because we need final approval, which was never discussed when I first came. I said, okay, I'll come, no problem. So now you're saying, we don't give you a final approval, but you didn't even need it. So it just,
So you got it.
I think you're being unfair. I took the oath to protect the citizens of Rhinebeck, and that's what I'm doing. I don't have any personal feeling against you. I just want to protect the citizens of Rhinebeck.
well, I think this outcome is very unfortunate.
I promise you, we will work on an events code. I'm sorry that this got a little raggy. We're trying our best. I think the marathon will be successful, and I agree we need a policy. Anybody else? How so?
Well, it's not just an event, it's doing anything in the town. And the waterfront, the going into a park, this is,
But don't you think it might be better to actually just answer the question so we know in the future?
we already know, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
But do we, isn't that the point that Joe is raising, that do we really know for sure? I mean, I don't know, to me, it's just a question that
Have you
that should
ever
be
Some,
asked.
some of you may not, some of you, or some of us may, some of us may not.
Bruce,
I believe I know the answer, so.
Our form, standard form for usage of town hall provides for an indemnity.
And that's because we sponsor it in the building.
No.
What are they using of town property? Just tell me what they're using of town property.
When the Girl Scouts want to use the town.
I understand that. What about the race? What town property is the race using?
They're running on the roads.
On public roads.
You don't think that if somebody gets hurt, they're going
Don't
to
drive
not...
home without a waiver.
What?
Don't drive home without a waiver. Come on, we're getting crazy here.
It's a little kooky. I feel,
I don't know, I can't help but feel like it's just a reasonable question. I don't feel like the tone of this was to stop anything or not support it. I think it was a legitimate question that could have just been answered. I mean, there was the option to vote for amending the resolution just so that question could be asked without stopping, but still supporting the race. And that, that wasn't how we voted that down too, so I mean, that was the other option. I mean, I think asking a question is okay, it's like nobody was stopping anything. I mean, I know for myself, I'm a newer board member, there's a lot I still don't know that I need to know. And to me, Joe bringing up that question raised a question in my mind that I can't answer. And, you know, we're all responsible for all the taxpayers of this town, so being able to know the answer to that question to me seems like a significant thing. Not to stop anything, I think it's a wonderful thing to have a marathon and to promote health. I mean, health and fitness is very important to me. I go to the gym every day.
But we didn't support the resolution. It wasn't supported on the floor.
But
so
I
in
think
fact,
what
it
Joe
isn't
was asking
supported.
about amending the resolution because there were some concerns, I think that was fair enough, a fair question to ask. Like, I feel like this could have gone in any number of ways, but I don't think this was a personal, like, you know, non-support. I know for myself, I fully support the idea of a marathon, but I feel like I want to understand when a fellow board member who has more experience than I do and more knowledge brings something up that I don't know, I'd like to be able to know the answer to that before I can feel confident. I don't, you know, I understand you feel confident, you've been here for a long time, you've got a lot of institutional knowledge that I don't have yet. I would have liked to have that question answered so I could feel confident.
Why don't we go on, we'll ask the town attorney as to the future what we should do when somebody wants to sponsor an event on town roads.
Or state roads or village roads.
We
or
don't have
county
any
roads.
jurisdiction over state roads.
No,
I don't
but
know.
a marathon crosses all of them.
Bruce, well, let's
Let's
go
move on.
let's go on with it. It's not productive.
It's nothing.
Thank you. I did want to, Elizabeth recognized me. I know you want to move on, but I do feel that I need to speak to this only because there are several events that happen. There have been filming that's happened, that some of which when the town has decided it needed to opine because it was on property outside of just public right-of-way, and there are some that have been happening just on public right-of-way where the town has not opined. The same thing with, we have various running events. We have the fall marathon, we have the turkey trot, we have the mad dash. It's the inconsistency, I think, that's a problem here. I absolutely, and I spoke to this years ago when we were looking at a movie shoot as well, spoke in support of, yes, I do think that this town should develop some sort of a process for evaluating events and a checklist so that you have all your ducks in order, so to speak. The problem here, I think, tonight is that there's an event that's being held to a threshold that the other events have not been held to and are not currently held to if they come in even and happen tomorrow, because they've been held just for years. That I think is an unfair burden to put on an applicant who did come to you a year ago with this, and there was a year of opportunity to get all the things aligned and let the town know any of the other documents that would need. There's certainly been a willingness, I think, on behalf of the applicant to try to work with and fulfill any questions that the town had. So I do think that to put the threshold out there tonight in the 11th hour on the approaching eve of the event was sort of a, sorry, but an unfair happenstance. So I just needed to point out, again, the inconsistencies and that we have other events that are set to happen that you don't even know about as a board because you're not involved with them, and they're not going to have that indemnification either. Plus, my understanding, and I defer to you, Joe, you're the attorney, I am not, but I've always been told that, you know, from our town perspective, you get lost payee. When we have somebody in, you get lost payee on the insurance, and I think there's language in there that actually says indemnification. So I'm not sure, you're asking for something, you have your reasons for wanting it, that's fine, I don't want to question that, but I do question the inconsistencies and the 11th hour request that's been made in the applicant. It's been before you for a year. Thank you.
Don't we have a form contract for filming? Wasn't that worked out?
Nope, never was. Talked about, never done.
I thought there was, and I thought there was an indemnity on the filming at the cemetery. And I understand that's our property, but I thought it was a bit, there was.
You would ask, you did ask for indemnity on that, even though we were lost paid and additional insured.
And did we get it?
I can't remember, but you know, my 20-some odd years of producing film all over, lost paid and additionally insured was always I mean, I shot in the Chrysler building, we never indemnified the Chrysler building, so, like, I've never.
So maybe the important thing that comes up out of this, certainly what I'm hearing, and this has been a problem for a long time with the inconsistency. Somehow this came out now that raised this issue. I think it's something we ought to address. I mean, we had a policy manual recently drafted, like maybe this is something we can, no matter when, we should and need to put in there. There should be consistency. It's not right if there's no consistency or there's no set policy. And maybe once we have these questions answered, we can create something so that we won't have this happen in the future. It's unfortunate.
You're assuming that it's necessary.
Well, I'm
Well,
gonna
let's
be curious
ask
to
for
hear the
advice
answer.
from
Yeah, I'm
the
gonna be
town.
curious to
That's
hear.
fine,
That's
but
what
don't,
it's there for.
But it is necessary. I mean, Kathy just said when she stood up there that for the past few years that the board has been aware of the inconsistencies. And it should be addressed. There shouldn't be inconsistencies. This shouldn't happen. This kind of thing shouldn't happen.
Maybe this shouldn't have been before us. Maybe we shouldn't have put it on tonight.
Maybe,
and
yeah, I think
Kyle
that's a
should
very
not
good point.
have come.
for, just to let you know how long, for 20-something years, every year, the soccer league was turning in insurance to the town. Little League, I assume, was doing the same thing. And it had the town named, had the amount, that was it. Just give them the certificate, make sure they're covered. And you have a lot more injuries with soccer than you're ever gonna have with this.
Well, let's get the answer and then work on creating a uniform policy.
Okay, can we move on? New business. I'm going to bring up again this county DPW. Maybe this is something else that shouldn't be before us. Kathy Kinsella and I met with the county DPW and Noel Neely, the commissioner, back in June, specifically about Slate Quarry Road. And they came down to look at Slate Quarry Road with us. Maybe it was even earlier than that, because we went out again with police and emergency services and a big extended group. We were meeting with them specifically to look at county road issues. And while they were here, they took us to see Mount Rutson Road and then Cove Road, right by the Linwood Mill Road, sorry, as other county roads within the town with issues. As an offshoot from that, the county decided, and I think I brought this up in February and then months ago when this happened, that they wanted to reconfigure the intersection at Mount Rutson and River Road. There's a triangle there, and there are sight-distant issues when you go up Mount Rutson to go north on River Road, and then if you take the other turnoff by the Ferncliff sign to go south on River Road. And the county wants to take out those two legs, take out the triangle, and have the road tee into it. I know there have been accidents there, I've seen them, I think I remember an accident report, I don't have it. Bob Balkin, who's in the county DPW, sent an email a month or so ago saying, we're going ahead with this project, is there any issue? I forwarded it to our zoning enforcement officer and our planning board chair at the time because, and Kathy, I didn't know what the procedure was, it's a county road project. The planning board, in a sense, said that there's nothing before them, they don't need any approval. Our zoning enforcement officer agreed. However, we have this designation of the local LWRP, our local waterfront revitalization plan. So the Conservation Advisory Board has weighed in on it. And Melody, would you like to take it from there?
Well, maybe Kathy would just like to first speak about the issues from her perspective, and then I'll. Yes, I think.
I'm going to say one other thing. County is start to work on this in a week. So then they want to prove, they want permission, or they're not going to ask me for permission. They've told us they want to take trees down in the next week. Okay, Kathy.
Yes, I think Elizabeth did a good job in giving how this came about. there was the meeting when the new commissioner came on board, we all got together to look at the various county roads and various problems on county roads within the town of Rhinebeck. There was, as soon as we were at that intersection, the deputy commissioner, who we had spoken about this years ago as well, that there was a problem with a vertical curve in the River Road, meaning that as you're driving southbound on River Road from the bridge toward Rhinecliff, right before you get to the Mount Rutzen Road intersection, there's a hump in the road. And if you're driving down that road, you do not have a sight line if there's somebody on the other side of that hump waiting to make a left-hand turn onto Mount Rutzen. You come up on them very quickly, you don't see them, and there is a stopping distance of maybe just 2 cars. It's very abbreviated for 40-mile-an-hour traffic. So the county said, well, if we move the intersection and make it a traditional T, which engineering studies over the years have shown that traditional T intersections are safer and preferred intersections to Y intersections for sight line reasons. If they move that to a traditional T, in other words, taking out the 2 legs and coming down the middle of that island, they would improve the stopping distance, the sight line and the stopping distance for the traffic heading on River Road. And it would improve that by about 8 car lengths or so. So that seemed, wow, there's a big problem. There's a somewhat, at least from an engineering point of view, easy fix to that problem. Not only does it do that, but there's a sight line issue for Mount Rutzen traffic that is heading northwest to merge onto River Road. You come up on that, and again, think of that triangle, if you can picture it in your minds, and you curve, because there's a curve in the road there. It starts to curve around, and you, at the stop sign, the traffic, you're at the stop sign looking this way, but the traffic is coming this way. You have to pivot 90 degrees to get a clear sight line of the traffic that is coming. This would improve that merge, again, because if you were stopped at that T intersection, you have your normal range of motion to look at your sight line. That's what is recommended for the best optimal driving conditions. So in order to achieve that, the county is proposing that they want to do this change to the River Road intersection. We're not there yet. That's a little bit ahead of where they are because the county has already said that they would present plans and come to a town board meeting and make a presentation, and there'd be ample opportunity to opine on the reconfiguration and get public input. The problem was that in order to get it into the year, this calendar year in their budget, they realized they have to have the trees removed soon, because if they don't get that part done, they won't be able to do that later, and this project would move at least 1 year down the line, if there's still will and budget to make it happen. There was nobody in the budget to be able to fit this in. So that's how this came about. I reached out very informally, very, very informally, and not comprehensively. I want that known. But just because I thought it'd be a good idea, I went to the property owner immediately across the road. I attempted to reach the property owner directly to the north of the intersection, but although there were cars parked on the property, there's nobody there, and there's no the window is right there. There's no furniture in the house. The property looks as though it's been abandoned. And I spoke with Burncliffe Forest, is the property to the south, and I spoke to the representative, Nick Staley, the ranger there as well, about their input on this. And all those 3 adjacent property owner parties have no objection to this. Again, there would be room to look at a design and time for this coming down the pike. The problem is the tree removal. Now, it's absolutely, I think it's great that this went through a full review process. I think it's wonderful in that tight time frame that the planning board got to look at it, that the CAB got to look at it, that the zoning enforcement officer looked at it. I've looked at it. The board has known about this. I think you were informed a month ago, so everybody's had this opportunity. And I think that for my hat as highway superintendent, I don't see where it's up to me, where I have permission status over this, because the island itself, where the trees are, I believe usury is the county's. The county is the one that maintains it. The town has never maintained that traffic island, that triangle. The county does. I believe that that's their property and their trees by use, and therefore I don't think that there's, at this stage regarding the trees, I don't think that there's a permitting that has to happen out of my office at least. When we get down to the actual design and ripping the pavement up, yes, I would have to sign off on that in official capacity, which I do support this project because of the safety and the sightline issues. And I think we've all been on that hump and experienced what a short stopping that is. I hate to see trees come down. I hate to see mature trees come down. I went and looked at those trees. People know better than I do. I am not an arborist, but perhaps if we need to, we should get an arborist to look at them. That's something that we can easily do. It's just a matter of paying help for that. But I think that that's something we could do. But the trees are, I think, according to the CAV, over 100 years old. I don't know what the lifespan is on those trees, but I would assume it to be somewhere probably between 100 and 150 years old. The CAV can speak to that maybe better than I can. There is bark off some of the trees. There's limbing that we know happens, meaning a tree usually dies from the top down, and the limbs will break off and fall first. So that's in evidence. Again, I hate to see trees come out, especially mature trees that are indigenous to the area, but I think that we can replant trees there also if this does go forward. I think we can find it in the budget that we have to do that, because the county is footing the bill, the design costs, the engineering. They would actually take up the surfaces and scarify that and ready that for the town to come in as part of because it'll now be adjacent road, Mount Rutson, that we would come in and put down topsoil and grass seed and let that grow up naturally, of course mowing the sides, which we would do then as part of our ongoing maintenance, which we do, but along the sides, we just don't do that island. So I think that there's nice shared services there as well. I think it's, a nice project. We're all trying to work toward sharing the cost and the responsibility, and on projects like this, I think this is a great opportunity. But the trees themselves, again, as I said, I don't think that at the moment I have an official role in opining on that. I see them as the county's trees, and for them to take all of our input and make their decision as to what they're going to do. So I hope that brings you up to date, and as such, I think Melody can probably take it from there. It's like tag team here.
Thank you, Kathy. Melanie Moore, I'm the acting chair of the planning board. As you know, Elizabeth, when you were told of this, referred it to Ron Evangelista, our zoning enforcement officer, and he asked to meet with our planning consultant and myself to talk about it. We've done a lot of conversation. We've talked with Kathy, I've talked with Bob Valentine, and I've talked with Ryan Dowden. And this is the memo that I will be sending out as the acting chair tomorrow to Ron Evangelista, because I see him as the gatekeeper on this project. And this, as I say, goes to Ron. At your request, Art Road Town Planning Consultant and I met with you to review the County DPW project at the intersection of Mount Rutson Road and River Road, County Route 103. During the course of our review, we received input from Highway Superintendent Kathy Kinsella, who indicated her concerns about health and safety at this intersection and her support for the project. It was our opinion that since the project area is all within the roadway under the jurisdiction of the county, town planning board review is not required. We did, however, feel that since the subject property and the project fall within the LWRP, a referral to the Waterfront Advisory Committee Conservation Advisory Board was necessary. As part of their review, the CAB asked for and received from County DPW a coastal assessment form. The LWRP consistency review has been received and it does not recommend positive approval. While I understand and am in whole or partial agreement with their opinion, it is my opinion that the extenuating circumstances regarding public safety require that the coastal policies not be strictly applied in this case. DPW has indicated that the town will be given further review opportunities as the plan progresses, at which time the environmental concerns identified in the LWRP consistency review can be reviewed and mitigated to the fullest extent possible. It is our understanding that the island in which the trees scheduled for removal are located is property maintained by the county and is thus in their user right-of-way. Therefore, it is my opinion that the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board has no authority to tell County DPW not to take down the trees. This is consistent with the already expressed opinion of the town highway superintendent. It is my understanding that since County DPW is the party permitting, funding, and undertaking the project, they are responsible for responding to the WAC advisory opinion and providing a justification as to why the project must proceed as proposed. Thank you very much for the opportunity to comment. We look forward to being able to review the project again as it is advanced. This was reviewed by Warren Lansky earlier, and he was in complete agreement with this opinion. If I'd answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Good evening, Board. Bill Dowden from the Conservation Advisory Board, and I believe this land was probably a part of the Astor property because in the mid-1970s that the Ferncliff Forest was dedicated and given to the Rhinebeck Rotary Club by Brooke Russell Astor. And you know the Ferncliff Forest is a large tract of land. I think it's over 140 acres. So this triangle is was probably at one point part of that parcel. And as everybody knows on the town board, that the Conservation Advisory Board has been charged with to oversee the local waterfront revitalization program and complete the consistency reviews when a project is in that area.
Bill, are you saying that the property is owned by the people who own the Ferncliff Forest?
It is not clear on parcel access.
Oh,
The
okay,
county
so
is
it's
saying
unclear
that
who owns it.
they own the land.
I'm sorry, say that
The
again?
county is implying that they own the land. There's no landowner on parcel access. My point was that I think when you go back 100 years, that land was probably owned by the Astor family because Brooke Russell Astor had the authority to dedicate and grant the land of Ferncliff Forest to the Rotary Club, and that was at the request of Homer K. Stanton, not Nick Stanton. But it was interesting also that the zoning enforcement officer reached out to the planning board to have a meeting with the town planner, but didn't reach out to the Conservation Advisory Board, and we're responsible for looking at projects within this area. So maybe we could be included in future projects. But in addition to being,
I did have him reach out to the planning.
we were not asked to attend the meeting with Art Road. But in addition to being in the local waterfront revitalization program, this parcel, this property is in the estate district's scenic area of statewide significance, the Esopus Lloyd significant area of statewide significance, the Mid-Hudson Historic Shoreland Scenic District, the Hudson River National Historic Landmarks District, and the Estates District for scenic area of statewide significance. And in all those designations, there are areas in sections that large, they call them street trees, but large old trees are supposed to be protected. And the town would be the authority to, I think, protect the large trees. We did have someone who is very knowledgeable join the CAB, who is knowledgeable with trees, estimating that they are in excess of 70 feet tall. They are probably 75 to 100 years old. And some of the top branches do have some decay, but when we visited the site on Sunday, there was no evidence of branches on the ground. We did submit the consistency review, and we could not recommend a positive approval for this project. One of the reasons is the cutting down of these old trees. There are 5 trees that should be cut down according to the county's proposal. It's also on a New York State DEC wetland map. It is designated, the entire triangle is designated as a wetland check zone. The Snyder Swamp, which is adjacent to Mount Rutson Road, is also a federal wetland, in addition to a state DEC wetland. We did measure the width of Mount Rudson Road is 24 feet. The width of the current bypass is 24 feet. If you measure from the current bypass north to the triangle intersection, it's 248 feet. So approximately 248 by 24 is what of Mount Rudson Road will be removed by the county. And that would go from the turnoff, the current bypass, up to the point. The other side on River Road is 268 feet. I think I mentioned that the current bypass is also 24 feet wide, the same width as Mount Rudson Road. And we measured that with a measuring wheel. Another recent email from the county is that the tree work that they want to get scheduled is only approval to remove the trees. They don't have a plan yet, they don't have any design work yet completed, or a plan for installing the new bypass, which would be approximately in the middle of the triangle. And they did include a map. I think the town board probably got a map. And it's pleased to see our county representative Joel Tyner here this evening, because maybe our county representative can help us with this project and see if it's really worth the expense and the loss of 5 trees. And 3 of the 5 are oak trees, and they provide shelter, and also they provide food for wildlife and bird life in that area. So, and the person that was with us just glanced at Ferncliff Forest and said, at that section of Ferncliff Forest, there are not that many mature trees. It seems to be quite young growth. So those are some of the reasons why the Conservation Advisory Board did not choose to support or approve the suggestion by the county for this change in the town of Rhinebeck. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, well, I think we have to have the county answer to the CAB. Again, I don't think there's an action required by us.
Well, we have to inform them that we have an issue,
Well, they have been discussing, and I will,
as long as they know.
Melanie will forward her letter to Bob Balkin,
I will forward what I read to you to Ron tomorrow. I'm assuming.
to Bob Balkin, to the county, and
I will be forwarding it to Ron. Now, I assume he will be forwarding it on to Bob, because Bob is the person he's been coordinating through Ron on this. The county is the agency undertaking this project, is responsible for responding to the CAC opinion. The CAC opinion, CAB opinion is advisory. So it is up to the county to respond and to tell us why they are not following the guidelines established by the CAB in their consistency review. I must say they are not required to. It is advisory. So they have shared with Ron that the reason that they feel pressure in terms of removing the trees is because of the potential bat habitat, and that these trees have to come down before the end of March, or they cannot come down until at least the fall, and that's what would delay the project.
because of the bats.
That's what I'm told. I have indicated in a cover memo to Ron and others that we would be looking to have that kind of a response from the county before any trees were taken down. But that is, in my opinion, a requirement on the other part to respond to that and to tell us why they can't, do it differently or mitigate the problem. So that's what I see the next steps as being. But as I said, the planning board itself, as you expressed earlier about the town board, have no jurisdiction.
There's no permit before you.
There's no permit before me, so this is not jurisdictional in terms of the planning.
Thank you for helping us. Okay.
I just had one other question. We've heard that the county is exempt from coming to the town, or whatever they're terming this. It's interesting because the LWRP is not only a local law, it's a state law and a federal law. And the National Historic Landmarks District was approved by the Department of Interior and the Secretary of Interior. So I don't know how a county can supersede the federal government or even the state government.
So, Bill,
but-
I'm sorry to interrupt you, do you want to finish?
No.
What would you like from the county? What is the CAB asking for a response to the,
Well, the CAB is looking for the trees not to be cut down. And if there's an alternative to solve the question about this. I just asked Representative Joel Tyner to look into it for us, since he's our county representative. And the town feels that they have no jurisdiction.
Is the board of Ferncliff aware of this?
Actually, I'd like to comment on that. 2 Mondays ago, I spoke to Nick Staley and Gary McDonald, and they knew nothing about this project 2 weeks ago,
yeah, it
on
came
Monday.
up very quickly.
So, and apparently, Kathy has reached out to Nick Staley. I know that, I don't think all the board members of the Ferncliff Forest were consulted because the president is out of town. So,
It would seem if the property is theirs, they are certainly an interested party.
well, the triangle is, they don't claim the triangle to be their property.
Oh, okay, they don't.
And on parcel access, it's not designated as anyone owning it.
So we don't know if the town owns it, the county owns it.
I would think if the county owned it, at least when you push identify parcel owner, but when you do that, no ownership shows.
Not to interrupt the queue, I'm sorry, but just on the issue of ownership, a lot of roads and adjacent spaces, even ones that the town maintains as ours, are not designated on parcel access with an actual owner, a tax responsible owner. They're just considered public right of way, and such as many of our roads, the vast majority of our roads are our roads by use. They're not dedicated roadways. Dedicated parcels will show up under parcel access in the tax system. But these user roads and user adjacent areas do not show up that way. The county has been the one maintaining this, therefore, by use, I believe that they have accepted and have been recognized as a responsible party. It is not the same thing as ownership.
They cut the lawn there, or they?
Yes, they do. You'll see sometimes you go by in the summer, there's a big green mower parked in there. That's the county's mower parking there when they're doing that work. And they keep that mower there when they're in the area.
Good evening, Board. Ryan Dowden, Chair of the Conservation Advisory Board. I have been in contact with the Commissioner Walken through and have been privy to the communication that has been going back to the multiple officials as well as with Kathy and Ron and everyone part of this project. The CAB is also open to any other adjustments. We're happy to meet with officials, with Mr. Balkin himself, out at this site and potentially talk about other alternatives to potentially that maybe not 5 trees have to be cut down, but maybe the plan could be scaled back to where it both presents a solution to the safety and health issue, but also helps prevent some of these trees from being cut down. Thank you.
I just want to raise a point in response to Ryan's comment as well, because I think I left this out before. The green space, if the 2 legs of that Y are taken up and it's one continuous through the island, you actually would be increasing the amount of green space there, and as well as bringing that intersection into conformity with Upper Hook, Lower Hook, and Astor Drive. The only other intersecting roads other than the end of the road, which is also a Y as you come in onto Rhinecliff Road toward Rhinecliff. But the other intersecting roads are all the same. They're T configurations. That's the only Y. And again, this would improve the amount of green space, would increase it. Also, one of the property owners that I mentioned before said that she might be willing to donate some replacement trees, as well as I believe the town has a budget that we do landscaping repairs, that we would probably be able to do the trees. I think we'd probably be able to replace the 5 trees, if not increase the amount of trees there. Now, they'd be small, not mature trees, clearly, but I think that it's important if a tree is removed, that a tree be planted. So that is been under discussion as well, and I think that the resources are there, as I said, to replace in kind and perhaps increase the number of trees in the area.
How does our zoning enforcement officer get involved? Somebody asked him or presented?
Town supervisor.
What?
I
Something?
called him because of the LWRP,
Oh,
because it is a federal designation, so I felt he's the gatekeeper for all things. I'll call Ron tomorrow. Melody, you'll forward your letter to him. I think Ron should talk to Bob about it, and I think, the LWRP is a concern, and the consistency review of it. It protects us, and, because of it, we have to respect it. I mean,
It's indeed a very difficult situation to be facing because you have a beautiful part of town, you have mature trees, you have things that are valued to us aesthetically. Certainly, Joe and others know I care a great deal about the historic resources of the town. On the other hand, you have the highway superintendent and other people telling you that it's a dangerous intersection. And so I think those are the 2 parts of this situation that have to be weighed. We certainly can be in further communication with Bob Vulcan. It's not my job, as I told you, it's not jurisdictional. I think that will result in a delay of the project. No one wants to see an accident at that intersection. So I agree with Ryan and others that it would have been much nicer if we had been involved in the redesign of that intersection 6 months ago, before they were facing a deadline of their own choosing. That's not the situation that we were presented with. This has all taken place within the last 2 weeks.
yeah, as soon as I heard about it, I
And,
referred it.
and a lot of people have been working very hard to try and come to some amenable conclusion to this. So again, I'm not trying to make a decision on the part of anybody, but just to make sure that everybody's aware that there are 2 important values at play here, both of which need to be considered equally.
Thank you, and thank you for your quick response. Does the board have any direction, or, other than,
As long as all the input gets in.
I would like a 2-minute personal recess. May I, I'll make a motion, may I have a second?
Second.
We're gonna take a quick recess. I'd like to make a motion to come back into session. Second. All right, we're back in. Another piece of new business, we have a volunteer for the Conservation Advisory Board. We met with Kathy Flynn today to interview her, and I would like to propose a resolution from the floor that the town board appoints Kathy Flynn to the Conservation Advisory Board, filling out a term to expire in December of 2017. Can I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Kathy, thank you again for volunteering. Discussion items. There's waterfront.
Yeah, I think we should table the waterfront until April. Actually, maybe what I'll do is prepare a resolution, since they have the approval from CAB and also the
I'm sorry, what is this for? This is the tab 6 that.
I think it's related to the waterfront tab 6.
I'm sorry, the
Oh,
waterfront what?
Tab 6, earlier presentations, Patricia was supposed to come tonight with a presentation on the outcome of the cab.
Did she need us to do anything for this?
That's what I'm saying, I think what I should do is write a resolution and present it in April.
Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Is this for the waterfront day?
No, this isn't the waterfront day, this is the whole, the LWR, not the LWR, the LRC.
The plan for?
Exactly,
Okay.
like the master plan for the waterfront.
Okay, so
Okay.
we'll table those two.
Yeah, so April.
Independent Auditor's Report for 2014. I forwarded that to all of you. We approved to hire Lori Doty, a certified public accountant, go through and look at all of our books. I'm assuming that all of you read this. First of all, I just want to address some of the findings that you brought up here. Several instances in the clerk's office where checks aren't being deposited within 72 hours. The clerk's receipts, there are 2 checks returned for insufficient funds. And at the end of 2013, there remained a $20 balance that she questioned. I'm just going to address all of those because I work with the clerk's office. Staffing and workflow of the clerk's office makes it difficult for the clerks to sometimes adhere to the 72-hour deposit. Banks close at 4 o'clock on Mondays through Thursdays, which means that a clerk has to leave, and if they're serving someone, to do the timely deposits. It's difficult during busy times. However, we're doing our best to comply with the timely deposit requirements by making deposits on Wednesdays and Fridays, and they have done so consistently in 2015, and that's in thanks to large part in making the deputy clerk full-time. So the several instances where they didn't deposit things within 72 hours are not an issue in this year, and going forward, I don't think it will be. The insufficient funds checks, there were 2 bounce checks. We don't accept credit cards, and out of the $37,000 that the clerk's office collected last year, we had 2 bounce checks for $10 and two $10 checks. Ms. Doty did speak with the clerks about it, and the clerks did follow up on this several times when it happened, and they do have notes on the birth certificates that it won't be released until the checks are repaid and the fines covered. So in saying that they didn't try and get them, they did try and recoup the funds. And lastly, the carryover balance is oddly enough a state check for, I think, a gambling license that we get for, I think it's for the American Legion to play bingo or something like that. And it was a specific check for the state. The state refused to take it, saying that it wasn't the correct amount. The clerks went through exhaustive back and forth with the state saying, this is what you told us to collect, we collected it, and I think that they will transfer the $20 to the town this year. Those are the 3 issues with the clerk's office. Does anybody else have any questions about the findings? I think we're in good shape, and I'm happy that we're hiring an independent auditor. You know, there weren't really any issues, a couple of issues with recreation, but we switched over to an online system.
Yeah, we do these.
Yeah, these are fine. I mean, I think we did really well, and I think it's also good that we're being independently audited each year. So make sure that this is on the website. Any other questions or comments about it? Coast Guard refuse.
The Coast Guard icebreaker apparently likes to dock at the Rhinebeck dock during the winter. And there was some damage. The staff is preparing a claim against the Coast Guard for the cost of repair. the Coast Guard had, and we discussed it at the board, and the consensus or majority of the board thought it was a good idea that we allow the Coast Guard to continue to dock at that facility, although the facility really was not built for big ships. The Coast Guard has asked that if they could, once a month, leave their garbage at the dock in bags. And I think it would be 60 bags a month. And Bobby has checked with the transfer station operator as to whether there would be a charge for bringing these bags of garbage up to the transfer station, and they said they wouldn't charge. The question is, do we agree that the Coast Guard can leave their garbage at the dock and Bobby would take it away? Bobby is certainly in favor of this. But
How many times a year?
I think it's just the winter months that we're talking about. So maybe November, December, I don't know about November, certainly December, January, February, March, there's ice out in the river.
And Bobby said he's fine with it?
He's fine with it. The question is, are we fine?
How often would they be leaving it then?
Once a month,
Once a month, and did you say 60 bags?
yeah.
60. So where do they sit before Bobby picks them up, and does Bobby pick them up right away?
I don't know if that's been worked out. I think he would take it away when they're left there. But we can check on that.
They have his number, they would call him when they're,
Bobby spoke to you about this also?
yeah, and I talked to Scott too.
But I guess what I'm wondering is, would he pick them up right away?
They'd arrange it, they would work it out so that they would offload when he could be there.
Okay, I just wouldn't want to see 60 bags of garbage sitting at the dock
Why not?
for a long period. Smell very pleasant.
It's winter, it won't be smelly.
Garbage is still sculpture.
I think it's great if we can help out the Coast Guard and Bobby can take care of it.
If Bobby doesn't mind, he can pick it up timely. I mean,
We want to run this by the board to make sure this is something we want to take.
I'm fine with it. Happy to have the Coast Guard around. Anything else? Any? Joel's there for public comment on the agenda items.
How's everybody doing today? So, yeah, there may not be a win-win solution to make everybody happy at that intersection of Mount Rutson Road and River Road. It's funny because my best friend my whole life lives halfway at the intersection of Astor Drive and River Road. So I've been traveling that intersection since whatever, 1979. Checking with the town clerk, in the next month or so, there are 3 or 4 dates that were available that didn't seem like anything else was going on at Town Hall. Tuesday the 7th of April, Wednesday the 8th of April. I'm doing a forum on the 21st of April. I think it's a Tuesday. And the 28th, I think the county executive is going to be in town. But with your permission, I would like to, I already sort of reserved these dates, I'd like to have a forum here because the last thing I want is World War III with some of the best elected officials here in Rhinebeck, but I don't want World War III at the CAB. And it's not really up to me, you know, it's up to, I guess, the county
There's no
people.
World War III here, we're trying to figure out what's best for the town. I mean, I think we're all working together and responding to the county. I don't want to misrepresent this. I don't think anyone's at odds. I think we have a highway superintendent, planning board chair, conservation advisory board member and chair, and a ZEO and a town board supervisor who all jumped on this as soon as it came up, put our heads together. I don't want to misrepresent that there's a war here. I think I'm proactively and positively trying to address quickly what the ramifications of this mean with regards to the LWRP.
No, and that's well said. I'm sorry if I misspoke. Just that there are 7,000 or 8,000 people watching very intently what goes on in Rhinebeck. I'm not saying watching Canada, but I mean in the town of Rhinebeck there are 11,000 people watching me. And without me, I don't know if I missed an email about this or anything, but without me, I was sort of, I'm glad that Mr. Dowden brought my name up, because people are going to ask me in the next month or 2 or 3, well, what did you do? What's your opinion? So don't kill me. With your permission, I would like to hold a forum here, and I'm going to call Bob Valentine and Noel Milley in the morning and invite everybody, because I would like to get to the bottom of it and see if there might be a win-win solution. And that would be on
Wouldn't it be better to
Tuesday.
have them at a regularly scheduled town board meeting, maybe make a presentation what they're doing?
No, I think that'd be good, but again, even if nobody shows up, I need to, without me saying anything, and again, tonight's the first time I heard of this. Maybe somebody emailed me or called about it. I'm a little frustrated that I wasn't, because as Mr. Dowden pointed out, I'm the county representative. Maybe nobody called me about it. Maybe I missed an email.
Well,
But-
I think because there's no issue, but.
No, what I'm saying is, just sitting in the audience, there's a big issue, and people are gonna be looking at me. Already Mr. Dowden has sort of asked me twice, well, Joel, what do you think? So in order to get that, and I personally cannot be here the second Monday, because the second Monday of each month, I gotta be in Poughkeepsie for the board meeting of the county legislature. So nobody in this room has to be here on Tuesday, April 7th, but I have to do something, because I have to get to the bottom, because it seems like the folks in the CID feel very strongly, the highway superintendent feels very strongly. There are folks in the audience who feel very strongly about it, and I think maybe some folks on the town board. And in my 12 years in the county legislature, what I've learned is it doesn't hurt to do a public forum to get to the bottom of
Well,
something.
our town hall is always available for you.
Like, for instance, the 47 West Market Street property. We had 30 to 40 people here sitting in a circle getting to the bottom of that issue, and frankly, a lot of information came out of that. So maybe there's no way to get a win-win solution here that would make everybody happy, but I would like to try to do that. And again, without me lifting a finger, I've sort of been dragged in because 20 minutes ago, Mr. Dowden said something. So I'm inviting everybody here, and I'm not trying to preclude anything by the town board, but I need to do my due diligence and invite people to give input to me, because as just one member of the county legislature, I have a little bit of say. I mean, I can kick up a fuss or make life easy or hard for the Dutchess County DPW. And there are things that have gone on in the Dutchess County Department of Public Works over the last decade or so, which are not so kosher or
You're
savory.
just asking us to use the town hall.
Yes, yeah.
That's great. I'm just gonna interrupt, I think Kathy wanted to.
Is this a time for public?
Elizabeth, I want to thank you for clarifying that there's absolutely no war going on, and Joel, I really take exception to that, very much so. I think that Mr. Dowden, both Mr. Dowdens have hats to wear as CAB representatives. I have a hat to wear as a highway superintendent. Melody has a hat to wear as the planning board chair. Ron has a hat to wear. We all have to speak within the perspective of those hats. That's our responsibility. Those are the oaths of office that we took to take that into consideration and present for that. So everybody here is absolutely doing their job, and hats off to the county as well, by the way, for actually opening this up, because as was pointed out, they didn't have to. If it's their land and they are exempt, which to be determined, but if that's the case, or if that's their understanding, they did proactively reach out on this. So I thank Deputy Commissioner Vulcan for reaching out on this in a proactive way. So I wanted to clarify that. I also wanted to clarify that Joel, in June, there was an email exchange between you and I where, I had, there were a number of county road issues within the town of Rhinebeck that we had been talking about, and I sent you an email saying, that there are this number of issues and brought three to your attention and said, what can be done? Your response was that you didn't reply. Instead, you just forwarded the email to Commissioner Neely, which is appropriate. That's fine. That's not a problem. But this isn't coming out of left field for you. This was June 16th that you forwarded that to Commissioner Neely, acknowledging and saying, I'm hopeful that 2014 will be the year that Dutchess County Department of Public Works fully, finally, and comprehensively addresses the issues on County Road 85 that you have advocated for so long, along with the other two issues listed below on Slate Quarry and River Road, which were explained to you what the issues were in my email that started the exchange. So I just want to be clear, this hasn't come out of left field for you, and I don't want this misrepresented that anybody was withholding any information or that anybody is in any way arguing or fighting. As Elizabeth said, we are trying to understand an issue, hear all sides and issues, and that's why everybody wears different hats to bring it up and make sure that that gets entered into the conversation, which is the healthy process. So thank you for pointing that out.
Just time for public comment?
Please, come on up.
I was going to make my monthly report, but
I think we have the balls rolling here.
My name's Jim Wayne, and I live on Highway Road, and I hear about the hydrants and the water and all that. I don't know a lot of what's going on except what I saw in the paper, and for a brief moment I was at the village board meeting. I'm hoping, I came here just for some information, and I'm hoping that you're going to tell me that you and the village are going to work together to continue to support those hydrants, and if they're not up to snuff, that you're going to fix that, and that all the other...
So we're not here for this is not Mount Rutson Road, this is hydrants.
Yes.
Okay.
Water and hydrants, and it's not only Highly Road, my understanding, I mean, there are hydrants all over that the town is, I guess, responsible for, so I am interested in that. I have
Thank
two
you.
sons who are volunteer firefighters, and, I just would like the town and the village to get together and work together rather than not paying bills and quibbling over that. I think there's a lot at issue here, and I just thought I would like to see you work together towards a resolution of the problem and not just say we're not paying it because there's no contract.
Thank you. And I thank you for coming. Should I address it with anyone? Can I start? We are trying to work with the village, and it's unfortunate. I realize that the village mayor had 50 town residents called and invited to a village meeting. I would have loved to have been there and presented our side of the story. The village does bill us for hydrants, and we didn't say we're not paying this. We have been asking the village mayor and the village board for months about several hydrants that we don't feel are delivering what we're paying for. And as a condition of not having a response, we withheld payment on a portion of the bill to get some resolution. And we've met with our attorney, and we're trying to negotiate a contract with the village. The issue isn't so much with Highly, which we understand there are 11 hydrants there that were put in with the train subdivision in 1988. The hydrants are there for fire protection. All of the hydrants in the village are paid for by water users. The hydrants in the town are paid for as for fire protection. So the village bills us for 19 hydrants. We have questions with maybe 5 of them, and that's what we're working on. Excuse me, you can have to be recognized and come up to the, please just don't shout out. But I hope that answers it. We have asked for a contract. We have had our attorney contact them, and we would have liked to have been invited and participated in the village meeting where everybody else was. There's just 2 different sides of the story. Heinz.
My name is Heinz Dauer. I'm a trustee of the village of Rhinebeck. I'm responsible for the water in Rhinebeck and the hydrants and so on. And as far as Highly Road is concerned, these hydrants, as Elizabeth said, have been put in by the drain subdivision. They are all in working order. They have excellent flow and pressure characteristics, and so there is no issue. The issue that I understood, there some people thought there were too many of them there, which I don't understand, but that's was put forward now. As far as the other 4 are concerned, 2 of the 4 indeed are not working to specifications. They have low flow, and 2 others have better flow, and they can actually be used for firefighting. So, there's nothing we can do with the hydrants. The hydrants are okay. It is the water supply in the pipes in the ground that is a problem. The 4 that we're talking about are at the extreme ends of the distribution system, and they are over 100 years old, probably 120 years old, and tuberculated inside and restrict the flow. And at some point we have to replace them. But there's nothing wrong with Heidi Road, as far as I know.
Aren't you saying 4 don't work and 2
No, I didn't say that. I
doesn't
said 2
flow?
of them have very marginal flow, and these are the ones on Albany Coast Road.
I thought you preceded that by saying some don't work.
Well, no, well, they don't have sufficient flow.
That's the 2.
That's 2 of them, and 2 additional ones on
Well, we're not
Monroe
gonna
have better flow, but also not sufficient flow.
Well, the Mill Road, it's the ones on Grassmere, which
Yes.
the Hillside Fire Department has said they'd like to keep. They're fine with that. We questioned the 2 on Old Post, which according to emergency services are useless because of the
They
flow.
have very
And we
low flow.
questioned the 3 on village property that are being charged to us. There's
Well,
one on Kloss, there's one the village highway department, and there's one at the village water district. So this is just an ongoing, honestly, I think it's an offshoot from the fire protection contracts we've had with the village in the past year. And we're hoping that we can come to an agreement on a contract for these and terms. We don't see ourselves paying the additional 50% more that the village has requested. But
So you have seen the contract?
yes, the contract was sent out, and I think that we're going to have our attorney negotiate it. Hopefully you'll work with us, especially since some of these aren't delivering adequate pressure. And we want to work with you to do what we said we were going to do last year to, redistrict the fire protection district. And
Well, one of the issues with fire protection and with hydrants, they're put in there, for the common good. And for the common good, one has to pay sometimes, and
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
they have
And
to
as
put new
we-
water lines in
And
there,
as we
the
did,
money has to come from
and
somewhere.
as we did with our contract, we paid more money for you, and we fully support that and our fire departments. And you're a de facto head of the water department, and you're a fire commissioner. So you're wearing 2 hats in this instant. You'd like the money to come in to support your water infrastructure project, which is very important. And you're a fire commissioner. I'd like to point out that we've also funded the purchase of many tankers. All fires in this town are put out with tanker trucks. Isn't that true?
No, that's not true. Not all fires are put out with tanker trucks.
Most of the
Some
fires
are.
in the town are put out
Well,
with
for
tankers.
instance, let's talk about Route 9G. There are no hydrants in Route 9G. If they want water and want to use tanker trucks, they have to go to Violet Hill Road and Highly Road to get the water there, because there's no hydrants in there, so.
The bottom line, we've asked our attorney to reach out to your attorney who sent us the contract to see if they can work out a mutually satisfactory
Just unfortunate.
resolution, and hopefully we'll get
Hopefully you'll work with us.
we'll get a satisfactory contract shortly, and we both can sign off on it.
And it would have been nice to have been asked to the meeting where I guess your clerk called up 50 of our residents, and we weren't informed, which if we're going to work together, it's better to do it together.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for your work. Sure. Could you come up?
Hi, my name is Mike Irwin. Just sort of spur of the moment, I was leaving a house tonight I had to administer to a wake kid across the street. And My daughter Kyle was before the board this evening, and I ran into her. I'm going out the door, she's coming in the door. I ran into a crying daughter. And not that I'm confused, I'm just, I'd like to know, based upon this race which she's trying to have in Rhinebeck. I mean, she has one in Peru and one in California. She's born and raised in Rhinebeck. State police have approved it, sheriff departments approved it, the village police have approved it, the village board has approved it. And I would like to know what your reason was for not doing it. And not that I'm putting any pressure, I just would like,
No, you have the right to
I would
ask.
like to know the specific of what that reason was.
I'm going to speak first, and then I'll let the two board members.
See if I can.
First of all,
Excuse me, see if I can put it together.
there are two of us, Grace, I'm sorry to speak for a little bit, two of us who believe we don't have to approve this because we're not, I would like to say that I support this. When Kyle came to us in the summer, we enthusiastically supported her and say, go forth and put it together. We didn't want to involve ourselves in a matter. I think it's fantastic. I'm speaking for myself personally. What happened here tonight is that we had a resolution that did not pass, and the resolution said, it was a sort of approval. It said that we had no objections. We didn't believe we had to approve this, but we acknowledged she was doing this, and I think two board members didn't vote on it, so I'll let them speak to why they didn't vote on it.
Well, let me start. Something was presented to us asking us to approve it.
Are you talking about this evening or?
This evening, that's all we're talking about, is a resolution asking for approval. I don't know if we have to approve or not events. Maybe people have a right to use the streets for events or not. I suggested that maybe the town needed an indemnity to protect itself in the event that we get sued. It was pointed out that we don't have indemnities from other events that run through.
That's true.
Pardon me?
That's true.
Yes, through that. We suggested that maybe we should consult with our attorney as to whether we need something. And basically, that was it. There was discussion whether we should keep in the resolution a statement that there are no concerns. I don't know where that statement came from, and that's what was a split, whether we should take out of the resolution that there are no concerns or not. That was really the issue that the board split up.
Mr. Irwin, I plan on putting forward a resolution at the next board meeting in full support of it, and I hope we can have the questions answered and get the support to pass it. I realize the hard work that Kyle's done. I think it's great for the community. I personally support it.
It is great for the community.
Yes, I realize she's a daughter of the community. I know what your wife has done here. She taught my son in school.
But it's my daughter's,
Passion.
it's her passion, it's her business. She doesn't even know I'm here. I just came from a funeral home across the street, so. It just, to see someone, she just felt hurt, that's all.
It was hard to see.
It is.
It was horrible.
Especially when you have the state police and all the other,
Meeting and figuring it out.
saying, yeah, and all the work that she's put in, and they're saying, okay. It's kind of belies logic.
Let me say, no one has any hostility to your daughter, to your family. I don't know them. That the event can go off well, everybody will be happy, and that
Okay.
My only concern is if there is a problem, that taxpayers don't end up footing the bill. And in that spirit, it was offered.
Yeah, and let me just clarify too, this wasn't about, I was the other board member who felt the question from Mr. Gelb was a reasonable question. This wasn't about a lack of support by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, I didn't have a conversation with my daughter. I was.
No,
told
I
when she
understand,
was
but I just
coming
want
in.
to make sure that you understand that, and
Well,
hopefully your daughter does.
Well, I'm trying to.
This was not about not supporting it. I think Mr. Gelb raised a very reasonable question. And the sentence
some
that he
extent, to
had,
some
excuse me,
extent.
let me finish.
To some extent.
This question he had issue with reads, whereas the board has no further questions or concerns concerning the proposed event. He wanted to amend it to take that out because we did have questions. And that's what was voted down. The amendment didn't pass because that was voted down. So there were a couple of different options on the table, accepting it as is or amending it, in which case, the vote may have been different if we voted for the amendment. So it's really not about support. It was about a very legitimate question being raised, a question. That's it. I mean, there's time before the race for this to be answered. I feel like it's turned into an emotional issue somehow, where in my mind, it was a reasonable question and a legal one, and about all the taxpayers in the town of Rhinebeck. So, I mean.
And frankly, it beats me why the other two board members wouldn't take out the one sentence. It was no big deal, and we would have passed the resolution.
Right.
So.
No, I'm not emotional about it.
No, but the whole thing was emotional.
Right, well, I was.
And it wasn't an emotional, to me, like the topics that come before us aren't emotional issues. They're things that we have to consider with taxpayers in mind, the entire town of Rhinebeck. And we have to balance all that out when
It
we're making
becomes somewhat
decisions.
emotional, it becomes somewhat emotional when you've been tied to this community since birth. It becomes emotional a little bit. You can't get that, it's an innate feeling, you can't get that out of you. All right, so that's what she was expressing. We did not have a
I
conversation.
guess I don't see where that, honestly, I mean, I'm just responding to your statement. I don't see where that's relevant. To me, it doesn't matter if somebody was born here, which by the way, I was too. I
Well, it's
was here my
relevant.
entire life. Or if it's somebody who's moved here and new. To me, it's the question of the responsibility of the town and the liability issues. It's not about the person.
Well, that's your opinion.
Yes, that is my
And
opinion.
I have my opinion.
Yeah, and I respect that.
But look, all of us up here are trying to do our best.
No, I know.
Right.
For the town of Rhinebeck.
I
By
agree.
everybody.
Can I just interject?
I agree with you.
I think it was a little clumsy tonight, and I certainly apologize for that. Nobody up here meant to hurt Kyle, and I hope we can rectify it before the race goes off with a positive support.
Okay,
Hopefully,
that's,
this issue of indemnification will be taken care of. Some people have concerns, some people don't. We're clumsy, we're like herding cats here, it's hard. Should try my job sometime. And I only regret that it did become emotional and that she was hurt, and we will try and rectify
okay,
it.
nice.
And I think it was really nice of you to come up
Well,
and
she
speak
didn't
to us.
want
Well, she will tomorrow, I'll call her. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else about hydrants or marathons or indemnification, anything?
My name is Enrique Guerrero. I'm the oldest tenured resident on Highly Road. I was there when the town was putting up roadblocks to taking back that road and maintaining it. They were the ones that demanded the hydrants be placed to the point where there's now a hydrant per house on that road. So it was the town that mandated that. It was the town that mandated the curbs on the asphalt, which had been destroyed by the plows, and it has not been repaired. It is the town, or it's the town that doesn't maintain the drainage, and there has been cave-ins on that road, and they don't pay attention to them. And the other side of that, the village doesn't pay tax on the property that they have. They've also neglected a agreement to plant trees around that water tank so we don't see it, and all the trees have almost died, and we haven't said anything. On a personal note, whenever he back flushes the hydrants, it floods my basement and has warped my, my basement floor. So much so that I have not sued the town or the village because it's my choice to do that. But I can, you talk about indemnification, I can probably win the case because they have never done anything to fix the problem of backfilling on my property. So what I'd like to say is that you need to work together, right? And I don't see that in all the material that I've seen, nor the language that I've heard from a lot of the people that support both sides. The other point is we pay a lot of taxes on Hiley Road. I will venture that it is the most taxed properties in the town, right? We don't get the money. I'm paying for this school district when I don't have a son in the high school for the past 14 years. And I've been paying much more than anybody in the board member. So I'm looking for a way for you guys to start working together and living up to your responsibility. And I am emotional. And if it doesn't happen in this time law, we'll see a child in court. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'm Emil Shi, I'm on 14 Hiley Road.
I'm sorry, what is your name?
Emil Shi, E-M-I-L-S-H-I. I'm not as, I'm not tenured, but I have been on Hiley for 15 years. And, I'm directly across from the water tank. And basically, obviously, there is, when I moved in, the water tanks were pre-existing, and that was one of the factors that would help me pick my property. And now that there's potential threat of either capping or closing off of the hydrants is just unacceptable, especially with 2 young kids in the home, and fire protection is everything. So I urge the village and town to keep the public safety in mind.
Thank you for coming. Mr. Garrido?
Before we jump off into something else, my name's Scott Etchens, I'm on 29 Highland Road, hydrants, and I guess my question is there a chance, a real chance, that these hydrants could get capped and could get shut off? Or do you think the probability of working something out with the village is high enough that we can leave here tonight knowing that, feeling very comfortable, let's say, that this problem will be resolved?
Does anybody else want to answer that? I don't think that they're going to be capped at all. I think that that was a threat and an unfortunate one, and we have every intention of coming to an agreement with the village. We've asked them not to charge us for several hydrants that we have a question with. Unfortunately, you are on the same bill as the hydrants that we have a problem with. So, yeah, absolutely. We work
So
with
we
them.
can go home tonight knowing, feeling really positive that you folks have the ability to work this out, and those hydrants will continue to be there, and for the good of all, as well as those of us that live on the street.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
You can only speak for the town on that, not the village, though.
Exactly. I can't
Well,
speak for the village.
I understand that,
I'll
but
just say that the village has made the threat of capping them when we question an invoice. So it's a little harsh response. Question an invoice and you get threatened with yanking out
tax
hydrants.
the village too for the property.
Well, Mr. Garrido, I'm sorry to hear about the trees. I did not know that there were tree issues around the hydrant, and I'll speak to the zoning enforcement. Water tank. I'll speak to the zoning enforcement officer. I will pull out, and I have looked at the original application from the train subdivision, and the backflowing. I mean, hopefully the village can respond to that. I had no idea that there was flooding down there. So we will.
Whenever they turn it off. The other thing is the fire trucks that fill up. What do you think, what property do do you think that they pull on to get the water out of the fire hydrant?
Could you come up just so, sorry, it's better that the cameras can hear you.
So I'm the guy who owns the property where the first fire hydrant on Highway Road is. When the fire trucks come through to fill the tankers that you call, you say, they go on my property.
We have nothing to do with the tankers.
I understand that.
We only enter into a contract with the village for fire protection on all of our behalf.
I understand that, right? But there is significant damage when the fire department comes and goes on my property, right, and gouges the lawn because they're filling water in my property. Now, I've never said anything because it's public safety and all that, and I'm willing to just go and fix my lawn, right? But there is a lot of costs associated with their burden of filling up on the property. My point being, going back to the point is you have a responsibility to work together. We pay water bills just like anybody else in town. We pay a fire tax in order to support the fire department. We pay a lot of money in terms of our school and property tax relative to anybody in the neighborhood, except for probably the Bottomwood area.
And the river. And many other larger properties.
Well, a lot of people pay a lot of taxes,
And school
everybody-
tax, we have nothing to do with. I'd
Understand.
also like to state that the town tax in Rhinebeck is one of the lowest town taxes in the county. We have a full-time town hall here, you have full-time service, and your mill rate for what you pay to the town is very, very small.
I agree with that.
We're thrifty here, and part of our thrift is questioning every invoice that comes before us and negotiating on your behalf. Just like when the village came to us a year ago after we passed our budget a year and a half ago and tried to get an additional $50,000 for fire protection, Bruce and I and the rest of the board spent months educating ourselves and negotiating on your behalf. So it's something we take seriously. I will make sure that the mayor and the village board knows about the backflow flooding, the trees that need to be replanted, and the lawn damage, to be more mindful.
Can I just say too, to all of you, I mean, you really raised a good point that I think we all need to be mindful of, which is we need to work together. There needs to be a good relationship. I mean, we're the village and the town, we're neighbors, we're literally each other's neighbors. And I think, I hear that coming from all of you, the concerns you have about that. And I know for myself, speaking for myself, I would really like a good working relationship with the village. I feel like I have that. I get along very well with the mayor, and I respect him very much. And I understand exactly what you're saying about the village and town needing to work together. We really do, and it shouldn't be something that's a negative experience. You know, we're all working for the good of the people that we represent, and that's important.
We represent village residents and town residents. The village only represents village residents. So the village residents are our constituents and concern as well. And, you know, personally, I speak for myself, get along with everyone on the village board. When an issue comes, sometimes things get bumpy, and we'll try our best to resolve it, as we always do for the good of all of you, of all of us.
It will be resolved. You don't have to worry about that. And we'll work hard to make sure that happens.
Anybody else?
By the way, I know the mayor, I have no problem telling him how I feel about it on his side of it. Again, I'm just looking for everybody to be adults and professionals.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm back.
He's back.
I'll try to be brief. Just that,
Want to talk about the company again? Thank you for coming.
yes, just that again, you know, Mr. Down, head of CAD, in the audience, he's like, can you help me? You know what I mean?
I understand you're responding for help, and it's the right thing to do,
All right.
so.
And I also,
in our town hall,
just, I understand, FYI, I said, I didn't want World War III with anybody. I didn't say there was World War III, there's a
We
couple
get past
cameras.
this, just so we don't spend the next half hour on
Okay,
the
all right,
same subject.
just to make it aware.
Joe, will you take over?
Yeah. The town supervisor said, there's thrift on this town board, and I believe that. I don't know if you guys, saw the email I sent, but this Wednesday, Randolph Warner and Gary Kent from the town CAB, and on the village board. And this guy Randolph Warner, who helped make no money down power purchase agreements for solar on landfills in the town of Esopus and the town of Clarkstown in Rockland County. Esopus is in Ulster County. He's going to be sitting down, and that's what's happening in the town of Esopus and the town of Clarkstown. It's not costing the taxpayers anything, and that they're making money. So the town of Rhinebeck has a landfill that you may want to consider a deal with. Now, in the email I sent to everybody, also everybody on the village board, the CAB, I made it clear that Randolph's not the only person who does this, and that, but he knows his stuff, so it's worth to sit and listen to him. I wanted to thank you for allowing us to do our Rhinebeck Town Hall Repair Cafe 5, which is happening this Saturday noon to 4 p.m. If you have alarm clocks, computers, electronics, bikes, musical instruments, whatever, furniture, clothing, needs to be fixed for free. It's this Saturday noon to 4 p.m. You can check out repaircafe.org. Kathleen Everett is helping me coordinate that. I do have a couple handouts if you want to pass those down. I don't know if you're familiar with Yes Magazine. I have some copies over there. But Yes Magazine and I are sort of pooling our talent, so to speak, in a collaborative effort for something called Dream Duchess. We're trying to get students at elementary, middle, and high school levels, college students, people of all ages involved, in imagining a new kind of Dutchess County. I've been successful in getting a bunch of things happen over the last 12 years, but I'm frustrated. There's a lot of innovative, exciting things that are not reality, that are not even allowed onto the agenda for committee. So I ask you to check out yesmagazine.org, Tuesday, April 21st at 5:30, doing a forum here on that. A couple things that are going to be voted on very soon on the agenda for the county legislature are, if you look at Marist Stadium, University of Colorado Boulder, Ohio State Buckeye Stadium, they're moving towards zero waste. They're saving money. I have a resolution supported by basically just about everybody in my caucus to look at that for Dutchess Stadium, the one in Fishkill. That's county government. So if you like that, don't like it, feel free to let my colleagues know about it. Hyde Park, City of Poughkeepsie, Town of Poughkeepsie, Beacon are part of DART, the Domestic Abuse Response Team. You might have seen a Poughkeepsie Journal article about that in January. And so for many years, I've brought up why is it that there's only a few municipalities in the county that have this? Why not Clinton, why not Rhinebeck? So that resolution, hopefully, that I drafted, submitted, will be allowed onto the agenda for committee day. Also, you may have seen a couple Fridays ago on the top of the front page of the Daily Freeman, City of Kingston is asking the Public Service Commission for permission for a community solar microgrid project, which would not necessarily be on a landfill. It could be on the fairgrounds property, somewhere else, large private landowner. That resolution is on the agenda for committee day, not to happen specifically in Rhinebeck, but just to help expedite those around the county. I'm in the process of reaching out to towing companies for flatbed trucks, but if anybody here knows of a flatbed truck, the Omega Institute last fall designed a life-size 30, 40 foot by 10 feet by 10 feet, one of those DOT 111 oil-bound trucks. And I've gotten several letters signed last year in the county legislature by a bunch of my colleagues about that issue. If you missed yesterday's Poughkeepsie Journal editorial, is all about that. These things are rolling up and down through our communities. So if anybody knows of anybody who has a flatbed truck, we're trying to get that oil-bound truck to be placed in front of different town halls for sort of activities across the Hudson Valley. I'm at 876-2488, 464-2245. And again, no matter how you feel about that issue of the intersection of Mount Rutson and River Road, I do recall, the highway superintendent is correct, I do recall the email from last June, but there's been nothing in the last 9 months, and then to come here tonight and hear that maybe 5 trees that are over 100 years old may be ripped down in the next week or two, I just don't want to be accused of abdication of responsibility. And I never said there was World War III. I said, I don't want anybody getting mad at me. I don't want, so that's why I'm doing it, all right? Tuesday, April 7th, 5:30 PM.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other business? I'll make a motion to adjourn, may I have a second? Good night, everybody.